Live, another edition of TigerBait Live. Mike Scarborough, Buddy Songy here in the, I guess, Pride Roofing Studios, or the official roofing company of TigerBait.com, Pride Roofing. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show. And we got a lot to talk about. SEC football media days. Brian Kelly was first on tap Monday, and we've got one more day of it tomorrow. And I don't know if it's been very eventful, but we got a lot of that to talk about, some recruiting stuff going on, and big pool party at the end of the month for LSU football. Skeens with a big record-setting signing bonus and much more. And you guys drive the show with your questions or comments, and we'll be here for an hour. Welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mike Scarborough, publisher of TigerBait.com. As always, we hope everybody doing well. Usually dog days of summer, and we're scrambling for stuff to talk about. And yet it has been one seamless transition from Mulkey and a natty to Jay Johnson and a natty to July 4th fireworks. And now we get into talking season. And we'll talk about predictions coming up. They are irrelevant. LSU was picked 5th last year by the media. I think most of us thought that they would not win the SEC West and play at Georgia and Atlanta. That being said, interesting to see when the votes come out. Jaden Daniels, last year, nobody. I'm going to predict he's going to be on some first-team All-SEC preseason at quarterback. And by the way, if Harold Perkins is not first team, somebody's crazy. That being said, Georgia, the prohibitive favorite. Mike, you and I talked about it on the show today. I think Alabama's going to be the pick in the West and LSU right behind. But you and others,
I'd like to see
you and others think that LSU might come up and be the pick in the West. I just don't buy it after what Saban's done recruiting the last 10 years.
I think the talking heads, the podcast guys, the YouTube guys, the website guys that run websites similar to mine in every SEC outlet, every SEC town, I think those might be the most to vote LSU. I think maybe it's the newspaper guys that would be the difference to make it Alabama. But, I've been saying for months that I think it's going to be Alabama, but it'll be one of the closest 1-2 votes ever. But it won't shock me if it ends up being LSU, because I've tuned into a lot of the YouTube shows across the YouTube since Monday morning, and I've seen all the guests that they've had from the SEC Network, and a ton of buzz around LSU, absolutely. But this is the time of year, though, where everybody's at their healthiest right now. You start practicing a couple of weeks, you start having some key injuries. I can sit here and talk about 11-1 until I'm blue in the face, and then all of a sudden LSU has a couple of injuries at key positions before they even get to Florida State, and that can change everything. But it sure seems like everybody has a formula for how they think the West is going to stack up. Georgia running away in the East. Can Tennessee be a surprise? Kentucky be a surprise? I don't know anybody that's high on Florida and Napier right now. I said it on your show today. I'm setting that one at -16 for LSU. But LSU's riding a wave, and they're getting a lot of positive publicity. And I agree with you that Jaden Daniels could be first-team All-SEC quarterback.
I have my Kiva Doon shirt. That was when I was young enough and good enough to compete with our little tournaments here in the amateurs, and that was our final major of the year. Kiva Doon's the Open starts in a few hours, of course, with the time change. Sam Burns, I saw you posted that. He is in the Open along with other players of note. So final major of the year. And, of course, my NIL sponsor of the day, Pride Roofing. We'll talk about that. And how about Jay Johnson, folks? He didn't catch one break, but he caught 2 breaks. He caught catcher number 1, Alex Milazzo, fastest I ever seen that young man run from first to home plate. As we know, broken leg. He's coming back. And Hayden long ball stash Travinsky. Is that T-shirt going to be cool again next year? I think it is.
Yeah, now he's going to
They're
sell
both coming back along with Brady Neal. So Jay Johnson already leading the charge with another team. And the biggest problem he's going to have this year, Mike Johnson, is how he pairs this roster down. They're going to have so much talent. Oh, by the way, we'll get into the blood, sweat, and tears of LSU in the roster. 40 new players, and yet Brian Kelly's telling everybody he's a year away, but he's chomping at the bit to see how this team lines up And it starts big September 3rd against Florida State.
Well, you brought it up, that catcher position. I mean, how good is Brady Neal going to be? Is he going to be in year 2? I mean, is he going to be the guy that ends up winning the job in the end?
Well, and you have specialists. I mean, Milazzo comes in as a defensive catcher, and of course, Travinsky's going to probably DH and hit home runs. But just to give you some other baseball tidbits, Skeens signs record-breaking number 9.2. Great press conference with the Pirates. Of course, most of the high school recruits that got picked late in the draft are coming, other than a catcher who was going to go anyway for Kansas City. So LSU basketball is the one that's kind of everybody's waiting to see it step up. But man, I saw a commercial, Angel Reese and Flau'jae Johnson doing a commercial for Amazon in their dorm rooms. Man, look, LSU
I'm telling you,
it's never been bigger than right now.
We talked about this on Buddy's show a couple of weeks ago. I think the women are going to be the ones that are going to be the big NIL LSU got people for years to come, just because they can go national more than I think football players can. And I think their corporations are probably more willing to invest in women just because it's easier to sell. And what they, cosmetics, flavored water, whatever it is. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon.
Hey, by the way,
I mean, Michaela Williams is going to be a big one.
If you want to get your kids something really cool, Harold Perkins has his own merchandise. You can go to Harold Perkins' website, and he's got some really cool HP collection stuff. And this is going to be a popular T-shirt in Tiger Stadium. You mentioned the women. Brian Kelly said it at Media Days. Kim Mulkey and the women's basketball team. Angel Reese helped recruit for them during the past spring. And, of course, baseball. And everybody's on the same page. Remember Pat Henry and Saban and others not getting along. This is all of this talk, not AI, but artificial intelligence. By the way, Brian Kelly was asked about AI. Somebody asked me, you think Coach O would have understood that question? And I said, he'd have probably thought it was A1 steak sauce, knowing him. But that being said, it's a collaborative effort. And as we know, Brian Kelly is smart enough to know this place is 48th, 49th, and 50th when you turn the freaking news on at 6 and 10. But when you turn it on at 10:20 or 10:22 or whatever, it's top 5, it's natty. And now people aren't going to say it. You and I talked about it. You got 11-1. I want to wait to see what they look like before I give a number. But 10-2 is the least number of victories I've heard a guy tell me he expects this year.
I will say this. I think, speaking for a good number of the LSU fan base, the majority, I think a lot of LSU fans are loving the fact that you now – and look, I like Ed Orgeron, Les Miles. I could take it or leave it. But they're enjoying the fact that you've got a head coach who is so well-spoken, can rub 2 sentences together, is a guy that they bring in to talk about major topics and not what flavor of grass did you like to eat, and everybody imitating an accent. I think he's right there. I mean, look at who goes to Congress with the commissioner. It's Brian Kelly and Saban.
Right.
That tells you everything.
Yeah.
And so the previous 2 head coaches would not have been in that position.
No. And the culture has been set. Everybody has been around each other for a year. You know what you got to do in the classroom. You know what you have to do off the field. Look. Even the players started saying, man, I got to sleep more. They're chronicling my sleep. They're watching my vitamin intake. They're watching what I eat. They're weighing me this and that. Everything is at a technical. Once again, Jake Flint, in year 2, he is going to have these guys ready. I think you're going to see appreciably better team, but so will Florida State be appreciably better in week 1.
Holy smokes. Trucking with Casper comes in guns a-blazing with a $49.99 super chat, and it comes in hot pink, and it says football is almost back, go Tigers baby, exclamation points. Big thank you for the support, Trucking Casper, big time for that very generous super chat. Very much appreciative here at TigerBait.
Is that in deference to the pink shirt?
It might be. It might be my lucky pink shirt.
And guess what? Angel Reese in that commercial I just saw, everything pink. These girls are killing it. Once again, doing it the right way. This to me is what NIL is supposed to be. Not giving a guy $400,000 a year to come play at a school for 3 years and then not care about him. This to me, not only, look, I don't get anything off the Harold Perkins. We talked about it last week. Will Campbell has the John Deere thing. This is the way, in my opinion, it should work, Mike.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Truck Casper. Very generous and very much appreciate that. All right, let me scroll up, guys. We're 10 minutes in the show, and let me get some of the welcomes in. Also, if you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button on the show. And if you're not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Appreciate you guys doing that. I think we've added 500 new YouTube subscribers in the last 30 days, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. And we thank you. Thank you all for being a part of our TigerBait family here on YouTube. PCG it says, what is the word about the new defensive line coach? No word yet. I know the players like him. We're going to see how he does in his first year in recruiting. Obviously, we're talking about a certain guy named McKinley in Lafayette. I think LSU's doing a much better job there in recruiting him. But we're going to find out. If Brian Kelly and Matt House want him to be their defensive line coach, that's good enough for me.
Well, the one thing that is apparently happening is that schools are negatively recruiting LSU because they've had a turnover at D-line and that coaching position for about the last 7 or 8 years. You can go all the way back when Jenkins and everybody's had a stint, Kane, I mean, all the way back. And so that's something that he's going to have to overcome to show stability. They're going to have to point to the people that they put in the league. And, oh, by the way, Mason Smith, if he stays healthy and plays up to capabilities, he's going to go into the league. I think Makai Wingo might, even though undersized, I think he's a pro player. And you got on and on with these other guys, Savion Jones from the edge. So you know that, the deal. You got to put players in the league, but need a little continuity. I think it's too early for any of us to know because we haven't really seen him much on the practice field. But we will start to see in a couple of weeks from tomorrow.
Joshua Forbes, always one of our great ones on the show. Hey, Mike and Buddy, good to see you. Glad to have you with us, Joshua. Dwayne D, good to see y'all guys again. It's getting close to the best time of the year, football and cool weather. Yeah. Buddy brought it up a little while ago. You know, we've been told it's August 3rd for the first practice and that they report on the 2nd. We haven't gotten anything official from LSU on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the date and it's accurate. But we're assuming we're going to have the same access that we had last August. Of course, our access changed in the spring just because they were so thin. But hoping we have the same access, and of course, we're going to have our practice reports. We're adding some more content to our YouTube channel, photo galleries, videos, and more. But you're right; it's right. It's before you know it, we're going to be out there, and that was another good point that Buddy brought up this morning. Are they going to practice in the morning in early August and then switch the afternoons once school starts? I think that's probably going to be the case.
Well, and of course, if that's the case, then they're going to tell the guys how to schedule their classes, and so they'd be going to football practice and then coming out and then going to class and then coming back and doing meetings. But you don't have 2 days anymore. This is incredible heat. Any of those players, and I don't think you're going to see any love handles on this football team. I think most guys are going to be in shape. They've been working their butt off. But as we know, this is very dangerous. And I did my show here at Brubacher's, talked to an old guy who was 81 years old. He said, Buddy, they didn't even give us water when we practice. Of course, that's the salt tablets and all that crazy stuff. But you will see these guys in shape. I think they're going to go early, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, because you can't. There's just no way.
Well,
especially before class.
And it's the weather.
Yeah.
You know,
you can't get anything after 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. It's just too hot. 5 o'clock today is 96 degrees. Mike.
Well, look how well it worked out for them in the spring.
Yeah.
I mean, it was perfect. Did they even practice one day indoors? I don't think they did.
Maybe one day, but I might have missed it.
I mean,
I think you went one time. I missed it. It was a rain one day with the rain. Yep.
Okay. But I don't know that they can do the deal like they did in the spring where they have the whole team scheduling late morning classes.
Right.
So
And we'll see.
I don't think they do that in the fall.
You can't get them out there. If they do go regular mornings, then that would usually be in the 9:30 range, but still incredibly hot.
Barry Barbie says, hope Luke Holman picks LSU.
That is the Alabama starting pitcher who was in the news because this is the guy that's got scratched from the LSU-Alabama game, and the Alabama coach told his buddy to bet on LSU because he was taking the guy out. And now the irony of it, of course, is that he may end up being a Tiger. He's also looking at Mississippi State and Tennessee, I think.
Joshua Forbes, to me, Jaden Daniels' interview was the precursor to the Heisman vote. I really feel this is Jaden's year to shine. Look, with the fantastic year he had last year, and of course, we all know from week to week you could pick apart not getting rid of the ball soon enough, this and that, but the amount of offense that he accounted for in that LSU offense was just staggering and amazing. And then when you look at him now, you guys saw the images of him physically where he's at now. He's done a fantastic job adding muscle to his body. You know, would it be crazy is as durable as he was with such a slight frame last year that, knock on wood, does it necessarily mean that you add weight that you stay you can withstand even more? Because, I mean, he took some shots last year and he was amazing. I mean, to go as long as he did without missing any reps.
Well, look, folks, it's crazy to keep repeating these stats, but Jaden Daniels accrued more yardage as an LSU quarterback, second only to Joe Burrow in 2019. He threw for 17 touchdowns and had 3 INTs. He scored 11 touchdowns running. Now, I wasn't able to find all the fumbles, so he did have a couple of fumbles, and he did, of course.
But those are few.
There were very few, and, of course, he had the ankle go out on him at the end of the year. That all being said, most people, I think, that we've discussed, probably not going to run as much as he did last year. He led LSU with 64 yards a game and had over 1,000, but when you take away the sacks and others, still about 885 yards rushing. Look, he's not going to run it as much. I think they want him to dink and dunk, get it out to the backfield, throw the slant, get rid of the ball quicker. As you said, can I have those brain farts where he's back there and he just can't release it? And that's a beautiful thing about Nussmeier. You heard Kelly say, Nuss is pushing him.
Save the design runs for late in the year when you need him against Alabama.
Well, I mean, scramble to get a first down and all. And the great thing about Daniels is that if you give him the corner, he will take 25 yards and get into the end zone. I think the Alabama fans will agree with that.
Trey Patin with a super chat. Thank you, Trey. Great to see you, Mike and Buddy. Great time to be a Tiger, still on cloud 9 from baseball. What are y'all's thoughts on the season and the LSU brand? Go ahead, buddy.
No, I'm going to let you. You're the publisher. This is your show. Start it off.
I just think you guys remember the high that LSU was on in 2019 and the arguably the greatest football season in LSU history, and all the publicity that came with that. And then you had the build up to the NFL draft. And then because of COVID, there was nothing going on in sports. So they kept replaying all those LSU games. I mean, the amount of publicity, and it was like there was no sexier school. And then you had the bottom fall out. Now you look at what's going on. You win the West last year in year 1 of Brian Kelly. You win a national championship in 2 sports. You got Livy Dunn out there doing what she's doing in gymnastics, golf, beach volleyball, you name it. I mean, it's just
gymnastics. I mean,
yeah.
They just got a young lady who was on the Olympic team that's going to do both. Look, my take on looking into the season is Brian Kelly is the first coach out of the gate. And that son of a gun sounded like a freaking scholar. I mean, there wasn't any hesitation. He knows what he wants to do. He's set the blueprint on his team, what he's got to do. Walk the wrong way on the line, you're going. We know that with McLaughlin and others. I think the culture, I think the leadership, he's got more depth. Got to keep number 5, Jaden Daniels, healthy. Got to find some corners and DBs. Couple of stats they got to get better at. LSU only had 29 sacks as a team on defense. They gave up 45. Got to do better there. Got to get off the field on third down. Had 39% conversion for the opponent. That's 4 out of almost every 10 they converted on third down. And as we know, I'm big on this. Got to score touchdowns when you get in the red zone and not field goals. But look, you solve corner and safety and have some continuity on special teams. One other stat that blew me away. Remember 3 yards in a cloud of dust? Everybody thought about that 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And Kelly and Saban are going to run the football more this year. I think everybody will agree. LSU averaged 3.3 freaking yards on a punt return. It'll never be that bad as long as me and you live. That was atrocious on special teams. So whether it's Aaron Anderson or whoever, got to have more of an impact with special teams and punt return.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Trey, for that super chat. It's that time of the show. We're here because Pride Roofing is one of our most valued relationships here. And let's hear from Mike and Alex.
Hey, it's Michael and Alex again with Pride Roofing. Here we grow again. Did your roof get denied during Hurricane Ida?
The insurance company is playing game with you.
Don't forget, August 29th is your 2-year anniversary to make a claim.
Your neighbor got new roof. Why not you?
Pay your deductible. We're fortified, certified.
We do your roof. You came on the Pride umbrella. Bet on Pride.
855 Pride 16.
There you go, Mike and Alex at Pride Roofing. Give them a call, 855 Pride 16. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait.com. And with your free roof inspection, they're going to give you free TigerBait premium for a year. That's a $99 value, and they're paying for it. They're footing the bill. I send them an invoice every time it happens. And so you're getting a free roof inspection and free TigerBait just by saying TigerBait when you call them. Of course, anywhere in South Louisiana, based right there in Albany, Louisiana, real big in the Tangipahoa area and growing substantially in Houma, Baton Rouge, and they've got you covered. And Pride Roofing.
Residential, commercial, and as I always stress, metal roofs really hot right now, pun intended. We talked about the job that those guys do. They get there on time. They take care of your business. We ask you to give them an opportunity. Look, there's a lot of people on TV with silly-ass roofing commercials. That's not the way they rock and roll. Their business, they're kind of like Brian Kelly.
Well, now, Alex likes to have a little fun in the commercials.
Well, I know, but I'm just talking about when you do business with them. This is their business. And look, the Pride promise is that the roof over your head is just as important as the roof over theirs. And Mike Kirby and Vernon and others in Baton Rouge, 275-2041, obviously anywhere else. But big-time community partners and, once again, big-time contributors to Southeastern. And as always, couldn't do this show without them.
Absolutely. James Phillips, what freshman wide receiver is going to break through this year? I predict Parker. The question is, how hard is it going to be for a freshman wide receiver to break through when you look at that lineup and the depth? Look at some of the guys, Ibieta, that we think might be able to break through after missing most of last year with an injury. Got a lot of wide receivers, a lot of hard, heavy talent. Is it Parker? Is it Jaylen Brown? Shelton Sampson.
Jaylen Brown got hurt in the back part of the spring. He wears 14. Parker wears 12. Shelton Sampson wearing 6. Mike told me this when Shelton was being recruited. He said, when that young man realizes how good he can be, he's got the chest. The question is, does he have the confidence? Is he confident that he's going to go out there and not have any kind of transition, make a seamless transition? They've got wide receivers. Of course, as a redshirt freshman, we're excited to see Aaron Anderson.
You got Kai as well.
As a punt returner and a slot receiver. But too early to know. I'll tell you this, LSU and receivers going to go about 10 deep.
They're going to get some of them in because you just got to. You can't not play any of them. And don't forget, you got Aaron Anderson there. He's going to be more than just a punt returner. So, man, it's now that BK is saying that John Emery, he's pretty confident that he's going to be eligible and good to go. and the way his tone was, it sounded to me like it's a done deal, but without it being a done deal. Got 8 running backs. Look at that wide receiver core. I mean, they are absolutely loaded on offense. I mean, where's the weak link? Would you maybe want another tight end with some, maybe?
Well, they got 4 new tight ends. If the big guy shows up, Connor Gilbreth, if he shows up.
I know, but would that be? But I mean, even then, you're like, would that be the only spot where you're saying like to make that position even better? Would you have liked to have a junior or a senior that was a guy, a receiving guy?
Well, look,
but they're so loaded.
Pimpkin could be that guy. This kid that was a Van.
Yeah, but you're talking about a true friend. I'm talking about another experienced guy, to go along with Mason.
Well, I'll just tell you this: all of us in the media room raised our eyebrows when Brian Kelly early on compared Mason Taylor to Brock over at Georgia. And we know Brock Bowers is as good as it gets. And of course, he was at Media Day with Kirby and the rest of them. But Mason Taylor was a hell of a player at the end of the year. And I'm just saying, you're adding 4 other tight ends, including if the big blocking tight end, I think he's coming in August, Connor Gilbreth. And then Pimpton, McGowan, and Mac Markway, who we hear. So LSU's going to have more depth. And, I'm interested to see how good that backup offensive line is going to be, Mike. That was one of the things in the spring that exposed LSU because of all the departure and transfer portal guys, Doomerville and all those guys that wasn't playing. They all left. Is Lance Hurd and Mason Lunsford and all those guys going to – DJ Chester, Paul Mubinga, where are they going to fit? They're going to be right in too deep. And I think they're going to be too deep on the O-line this year.
Golden Boot, our buddy Pooh Bear, they do a great show on Sunday nights. Go follow them. Love those guys. They do a fantastic show on Sunday nights. I think it's a great time slot, too. They've got it all to themselves. And so when you're wanting some LSU talk, absolutely go watch their show.
Hey, I've seen Pooh Bear stuff. And by the way, in case you missed it today, Deion Sanders is not going to be at their media day because he's got another foot procedure. But I know Pooh Bear and them have talked about that. And this Deion Sanders, man, he's riled up some coaches around the country. But we wish him the best with the diabetes and the toes and all of the he avoided amputation, but I think he's lost a couple toes. But he will not make pass.
Is it me or some of that hype starting to fade?
Well, there's no doubt. They won 1 game last year, Mike, and they win 3. And look, all I can tell you is that LSU won 10 last year with Brian Kelly. Can you win 1 more? Can you win 11? Can you win 12? How many games you're going to be in? And, of course, as we know, to me, there's 3 games that LSU could possibly lose. The opener against Florida State in Orlando, at Ole Miss in Week 5, and then at Alabama in November. I think there'll be decided favorites in every other game.
Chris Scott says, Mike, Kelly says he wants to be at the level of consistency with Georgia and Bama. Well, we will have to start winning more battles for elite guys on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Yeah, absolutely. I see A&M bring McKinley Jackson and went and filmed him in Mississippi, and he was fantastic. Of course, he was a part of that same year of Jaquelin Roy and Jacobian, and LSU had offers out to 2. Were you going to go into Mississippi and get a 5-star like him? But what a difference maker he is. Those are the kind of guys, the Otis kid from Mississippi that they didn't get. Some of those guys that are a next level lineman. You've had the luck of having some Louisiana offensive linemen, but some of these really national defensive tackles that are of that frame that just absolute beasts at 6'2" to 6'4", 300 plus pounds, and just they're unblockable.
Well, you want to win them in the recruiting battles with high school players. But guess what, folks? Ovio Gofu is going to start and play a lot at one edge. They love Jackson Howard. He's coming in. Deshaun Womack was hurt. Wore 49 in the spring. He's going to have 17. Gofu wore 17. He's going to go to 2. Mekhi Wingo mentioned Jordan Jefferson, the nose guard from West Virginia. Parrish Shan. Braden, the kid from the other kid, 13. Braden Swinson.
But Mason Smith can be that guy. But who is the next first-round draft pick from the defensive line?
Well, but I'm just saying,
an interior defensive line.
If you lose them in the recruiting battle with freshmen, and I understand the point he's making, it's good that they supplemented with the transfer portal. All I'm saying.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys, scrolling down to get to some of these. Todd Davis, this LSU team is helping recruit McKinley. Absolutely. That's one of your best recruiters when you've got current Tigers that because we saw some years in the 90s where you had LSU players telling other kids at their high school that were coming up behind them, don't go to LSU. I ain't going to name names, but a lot of you might remember. You got to have your players that are selling a great environment and doing the job for you. Carl Dunn says, Carl the Cat, what's up, Mike and Buddy? High school football's around the corner. I need to get my ranking up.
Look, folks, Carl the Cat Dunn, once again, the only guy in the history of Tiger fandom to take a freaking bus all the way to Omaha and back. Now, Carl, once again, is moving up on the refereeing charts. His NIL deal this year will once again his calls
Lynn's Crafters
on the field. No, Coca-Cola is still sponsoring Carl the Cat. But Carl, you're coming in at number 27 in the preseason top 30. So you got some work to do.
And that's East Baton Rouge Parish ref.
Yeah.
Right.
But Cat, we love you. And I know you're going to make some great calls this.
And if he's in West Baton Rouge doing games on a Friday night, he's in the top 20, I think.
Oh yeah, he's top 15 over in West Baton Rouge.
Okay.
But a great Tiger fan, along with Nurse Court and all of the other guys that we and ladies that we have from time to time.
We got a huge. I've charted out our high school video schedule for TigerBait. We are going to be super busy, man. I've got it charted out. There's going to be 3 or 4 of us out every Thursday and Friday night. We're going to be bringing you tons of high school prospect footage. That's why you need to go to TigerBait and subscribe. Nobody does video as good as we do. Mac Markway will put people on their ass. He's tough, says Chris Scott.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that showed up, and of course he's about 245, 250. Mike got a little dinged in spring ball. That's what I said. Now McGowan, Mac Markway, Pimpton coming in, and Connor Gilbreth, I'm pretty sure is getting a late signee. That's that 6'6" kid who's 270 that'll start off as a blocking tight end and then evolve into an O-lineman. And then, of course, Mason Taylor. You lost Monster Mash and a couple of other guys, Cole Taylor, to the portal. But I'm going to ask Coach Kelly, one of the questions I'll ask early on, what are you going to do now that you've got a handful of tight ends? And I think LSU is going to run it when they want to. And you heard him say it. He doesn't want to be finesse. He wants physical, which means line up and pile drive somebody. And, of course, correspondingly, he talked about it. You've got to stop the A-gap. You got to have nose guard and D-tackle. Got to have inside backer. Got to have safety, or the SEC will run right up your butt.
John Sibley, Butler with a new photo. And that's a big time. Look at that sports coat with the LSU logo on. I love that. Says the top teams are up and down. Florida, Tennessee, Bama, LSU. Keep recruiting Tigers. And we have won national championships since 2003. You bring up Florida and you want to talk about ups and downs. What's the over and under on wins there? 7?
I
think Napier gets fired next year.
I will just say this, and I know Billy Napier went on a particular local show a bunch trying to get the LSU gig, and he never got a look-see. But I'll just tell you this. You can talk about Scott Woodward and Stephanie Remp and all of the helpers over there, along with President Tate. But I don't think I know any LSU fan that would trade Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson, or Brian Kelly, that trio of hirees, with anybody else in the country on those particular sports. And I just think Brian Kelly still has to prove he can win a game in the CFP championship and get to that puppy. Of course, next year you're going to have a better advantage because it's 12. but it's too early for me to ascertain if they got a chance. But as I said earlier, I don't think they can lose any other game if they're healthy, other than the opener. At Ole Miss, but that offense, you got to be careful with Kiffin. And then at Alabama is going to be a toss-up. Mike, they win those 3 games. They could go on blemish. You have an injury, they could go 9 or 10.
Everybody's going to say LSU, Alabama, 1-2, whether you flip-flop them, who's 1 or 2. Third, people debate whether it's A&M or Ole Miss that you pick. But is there somebody on the back end that could be the surprise team this year?
Everybody loves Sam over at Arkansas.
Is it Arkansas? Is it Auburn? Is it Mississippi State? Can any one of those teams do better than anybody thinks they can do?
Arkansas's over and under is under 7. Texas A&M's over and under is 7.5. Mississippi State with a Cowboy, Zach Arnett, they're still lamenting the loss of Mike Leach. And Hugh Freeze with
man, A&M folks say they're going 10-2.
What's that?
A&M folks, Billy Lucci says they're going 10-2.
Yeah, and we know how many championships they brought home in the last whatever years.
90.
I'll say this: Jimbo Fisher is 3-2 against LSU. Although everybody knows they cheated the living hell out of LSU in the 7 overtime.
That game last year was disgusting.
Well, no, they deserved to win last year.
LSU played awful.
They did, and they were tired, and it was a letdown.
But that's also a deal where Kelly's talking about depth and having and so
sure,
he's not poor mouthing when he says we're not where Georgia is. He's being transparent and he's telling the truth. But that doesn't mean you can't win the West because he did it.
Well, Jimbo has swore up and down that Bobby Petrino will call the plays, so they're going to have a better play calling scheme. Connor Wegman is their expected quarterback. Max Johnson's on his heels. And I know everybody's talking about their talent, but like I said, Vegas has got them at 7.5 over and under. So if you love A&M, Billy Lucci ought to go and put $1 million on over 7.5. Tell him I said that.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to go 10-2, that's an easy bet.
Absolutely. All right. Tiger fans, want to show your LSU Tiger pride? Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Nike Golf, Champion, Peter Millar, Columbia, Southern Tide. They've got hats, Yeti, gifts, and accessories. LSU students, faculty, and military receive 10% off in-store every day. And you can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Alumni Hall located in Perkins Row or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. And I've been looking at the website and looking at swung by the store last week. They've got a lot of new arrivals just in time for football season. And you want to go there and you want to get more than just the typical LSU shirt for football season. Go over there. They've got all the latest polos so you can up your game and look really good in Tiger Stadium for football season. If you're making that road trip to Orlando, you want to have the newest gear, go over to Alumni Hall. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait, and they've got you covered.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Give yourself a good half hour to go in there and browse. Rachel and everybody in there are going to do a great job talking to you, asking you what you need. And once again, a lot of LSU baseball stuff, and it's going to be through the roof, man. I know people spent thousands of dollars in Omaha, so everybody's trying to get ready for school and uniforms and all that. But I think it's going to be a monster year. And if you could just tell us that they'll beat Florida State that first weekend, man, the sky's the limit. I'm not going to lie to you. They beat Florida State. I'm expecting LSU to be 6-0 right out of the gate.
That's going to be a big trip. A lot of LSU fans are making that one, and they'll hit Universal, they'll hit Disney, they'll go to Harry Potter and do all that stuff. Omaha wasn't cheap. Orlando's not cheap.
No.
Especially if you're hitting if you're hitting Disney and Epcot and all that stuff. I vowed the last time I went to Disney, that'd be it though. Or Universal if you're an adult. You go to Universal. All right, let's scroll up and let me get to some more of your comments.
Where's the Edward Coach O guy?
He's not here tonight.
Edward Krabs. Where you at, Krabs?
Hal Jubin says LSU is not losing in Oxford. That's just amazing how the switch got flipped on last year's game. LSU just said, okay, we're done playing around, and just took over.
Yeah. Well, the problem that Kiffin has, and I'm talking to different people this week, Pete Golding is not going to be able to fix that defense in year one. They just don't have the players. Now, they're doing a better job recruiting, but I will say this. Ole Miss is going to score a lot of points. And this is the first little caveat I'm going to give you on the July 19th tidbit. Ole Miss is going to figure out a way to get by this rule where you don't stop the clock on the first down. They're going to go hurry up, no huddle, and you're going to see mass fake injuries to slow down these offenses. But Kiffin's going to get his plays in. But once again, if he scores 48, Mike, is he going to give up 53 like he did to Max Johnson and Keyshawn Butte a couple of years ago?
I just went and looked it up because it had me thinking what an interesting game Auburn to Ole Miss is going to be.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze versus Lane Kiffin, and that one's at Auburn, October 21st.
By the way, Alabama, with all of their tough games at Tuscaloosa this year, including Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU. Mike, how many losses do you project Alabama to have?
I think they lose 2 again.
Okay, so you got LSU 11-1. Alabama.
And what happens if they lose 3?
Well, look.
He hasn't lost 3 since his first year.
Yeah.
Right?
And everybody knows that there's the 3-headed monster at quarterback, although I think Ty Simpson's going to win the job. I think they're going to have a package for Jalen Milroy.
Ty Simpson camped at LSU.
What's that?
Ty Simpson camped at LSU.
Yeah.
He was a part of that deal with Caleb Williams and Walker Howard, and they were all there.
You saw
the most amazing stretch. But and as amazing as that camp, that was the summer of 19. That was the most – but I think Joe Sloan had an incredible group that came in throughout June as well. But that one was crazy.
Yeah.
And but the thing I remember about Ty Simpson was he was actually 2 years older than everybody else in his year. When your dad's a coach, they typically hold you back.
Yeah. Milroe, of course, is an incredible runner, and I think they're going to have packages for him. Tyler Buckner, even though he knows Tommy Reese, I don't think he's going to scratch the surface as their QB.
Josh Forbes, Bama's losing 5. That's not happening.
Look, I looked at
that'd be fun though.
I looked at their schedule, and you're going to think I'm crazy on this Wednesday night, but Georgia, I'm going to predict, is going to lose a game in the regular season. They don't have Todd Monken, and he's a hell of a play caller in the pros, and they don't have Stetson Bennett.
If Alabama doesn't lose 2 and they do have a 1 loss or a no loss, then I'll say this is Nick Saban's one of his greatest coaching years ever.
Well, look, they're loaded, though. They're loaded, except they have questions of quarterback. Now, he likes where they're at, but what I was going to say about Georgia and Stetson Bennett, that's a little joke on some of his problems off the field. Once again, I'll give the joke again. If you go to Georgia, if your kid's going to Georgia from Louisiana, make sure the damn football players are taking driver's ed because they're driving like hell over there, and you could get run over. That's not anything to joke about with the passing of that player and the recruiting girl, but do you feel like Kirby has kind of let that out of control, or is it in a day and time where you can't control the way these guys drive on their own?
I just think we all know as soon as we saw what Georgia's schedule looked like early in the year, it was just unbelievable and you automatically think they're going to run away with it. For some reason, I don't think they are.
I think they're going to lose a game in the regular season, but still be in the East. I mean, obviously winning that.
Trey Patin with a super chat. Thank you. He says, retired Dylan Cruz, number 3, LSU forever. What's that?
That means no. I'm sorry. I'm not going to call you a millennial, but guess what? Alex Bregman's number is not retired. You don't retire somebody's number. Is Joe Burrow's number retired?
It will be.
But is it retired right now?
No.
When did he finish?
19.
What year is it?
23.
Okay, so how's Cruz going to get something that Burrow hadn't gotten in 4 years? I just think, no disrespect to these fans.
Well, yeah, because when Ben and all them get theirs.
Well,
Todd Walker.
But
Todd
Walker just got here. Eddie Furnace just got. It takes time, folks.
And that was 25 years, huh?
Huh?
Todd Walker.
Todd Walker played 30 years ago, 1993.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm just saying it's too early to retire Dylan Cruz's number. I talked to Walker and
But it will be
about it. They said Bregman will be the next number retired, and I'm gonna predict in football Kevin Falk will have the next jersey retired. No disrespect to the comment, but I think it's way too freaking early to retire somebody who just left.
Does Fournette get his? Does Fournette get his retired?
Oof, I don't know, man. You look up the tape on Alabama. I don't think so. I don't know.
And despite the way he was dismissed, could Tyrann Mathieu see his?
Now that I think the Honey Badger.
I think most LSU fans would vote yes for that.
Well, and look,
which is amazing because when most guys leave the way he left and have something like that and get multiple chances, they turn on him. Nobody turned on the Honey Badger, did they?
And look, I'm not downgrading what Fournette was at LSU.
He's
I'm
a
just
Tiger.
saying that it's not easy to get your number retired in baseball or your jersey retired in football.
Who would you retire first, Matthews or Fournette?
Tough call.
I'm going Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah. Well, and look.
And that's an interesting case, isn't it, when you think about it?
But you see, both of them wore 7. Now, Mathieu wore 14.
Gets booted out of the program and donates money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He comes back here and recruits.
There's no doubt.
One of the most beloved LSU Tigers of all time.
But I don't want the guy to take issue. I just think I hear it too often. It's not the way the world works. You don't retire a guy's number 2 weeks after.
We haven't gotten into the Jarvis Landrys and the Odell Beckhams and but they're not where Honey Badger and Fournette's at. That's a whole lot.
It takes time.
That's a whole lot of numbers we're talking about. I'm just ready for the Burrow statue and where that's going to be set up at. Where do you put that one at? Kenny Haynes. It is past time to retire Warren Morris's number 4. Thanks for the super chat, Kenny.
Kenny had a hell of a baseball.
Do you retire number for really one hit?
Warren Morris is one of the classiest guys that I've had the honor to interview and have on. And one year we did the bash, had him and DiNardo next to each other on the show. That was the good days. But I don't think Warren Morris's number is. Look, you can't retire everybody. But when Tommy White hit the walk-off against Wake Forest.
We retire Mason Taylor for that 2-point conversion reception, right?
No, but people said that was the second greatest home run ever in LSU baseball. And I don't think anybody can dispute Trey Morgan's play is going to be going down as one of the greatest defensive plays. But you can't retire everybody. That's the tough part of it,
Right.
But Warren Morris will always be etched in history. And Billy Cannon told me this on numerous occasions. The greatest individual play ever in LSU history because it determined a national championship outcome.
Right. Josh Forbes, I love me some Tyrann Mathieu. Play with that killer instinct and heart, that which defines an LSU Tiger. I tweeted out a couple of weeks ago when I was moving that was going through some boxes, and I found Tyrann Mathieu's highlight DVD from high school. And I tweeted out and I added Tyrann. And he goes, oh, man, I might need a copy of that. Like maybe he doesn't have one. And so I'm going to load that to YouTube. If I don't get it up next week, you guys remind me. But I'm going to have it up on YouTube. I'm going to post the whole thing.
Hey, we interviewed Patrick Peterson. And Mathieu had 3 INTs when he was a true freshman, first scrimmage. I think that was the first year. He said, we knew that kid could play. He had 3 INTs. Of course, Patrick Peterson and his daddy and his family took Mathieu in when he was on the dregs of going the wrong way. And really, and I told the Honey Badger that when we saw him last year on the practice field. But kudos to that young man for turning it around.
Yeah.
And like you said, an incredible representative at LSU right now.
I never believed his situation was as awful as they portrayed it to be. All right, let's see. Let me scroll up, guys. This is a good one from Chuck Gerard. Mike, how much playing time does Nussmeier get this year without a Daniels injury? I think you would hate for it to go where it's a carbon copy of last season, where the only time that Nussmeier got in the game was a big lead. I mean, because you really would like to get Nussmeier some valuable game reps. So that way you go into the 24 season knowing 100% that he's your guy. And I've, talked about it with Buddy. Daniels graduates, heads to the NFL. Got Ricky there, redshirt freshman. Got Colin Hurley at midterm, Nussmeier. I really think that there's going to be a spot next year in the spring where LSU could be in a situation or be ripe for a transfer portal quarterback.
Well,
not because of not knowing what Nussmeier is, just because you're wanting another guy who's maybe seasoned that can be the guy when you've got a redshirt freshman and a true freshman there. I think that's a definite slot for a transfer portal quarterback next spring.
Brian Kelly was asked about a 2-quarterback system, and he specifically said, look, Nussmeier is getting better every day, and he's pushing Jaden Daniels to get everybody better every day, and we know Jaden Daniels is going to be the starter. The problem you have when you interview these guys is they work to ever-loving butt off to be the starter, and they don't want to go out at the end of the game, or they don't want to give up reps because, A, you're trying to win games, you're trying to win awards, and you're trying to have continuity with your team, and so it's hard. He specifically said, we will not do what we did in the bowl game, which is when Nuss came in the third series against Purdue. Now, we know he played the second half because Daniels got hurt and lit up the Georgia secondary. So you're talking about guys with great talent. I don't think Kelly would trade his 2 quarterbacks for any 2 in the conference. But that is a hell of a question, and that's something that I don't think the coaches know. But, Mike, if you're up 35-7 against Mississippi State and there's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, why not give Nussmeier some reps? Because he is going to be the probable starter going into the spring in 24.
Yeah.
But we'll see if that plays out that way.
Kenny Haynes with another super chat. It says you need a ring of honor and not retire numbers. That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, I like it, Kenny.
That is a good idea.
Yeah. And hey, look, let's be honest. If there was a ring of honor right up here for TigerBait, I think Kenny and Snake would have to be in there.
There you go.
Snake for a variety of reasons, and Kenny, what he brings to the table on a daily basis. And of course, we can't leave out Preston Guy. I mean, he would not like it if we didn't mention Preston, who has got a show coming back up in football season, a proud papa.
Got the real Will Wade in here. He says, go Cowboys, McNeese Cowboys. Could be interesting to see what Will Wade does in year 1 next season. What game is it? Does he actually get to start coaching with the new games he has to miss? But it's going to be interesting. They're excited in Lake Charles. I was talking to David LaFleur about it at camp. Of course, I also told him that his son's about to get an offer, and he didn't believe me. And a couple weeks later, it came.
Yeah.
But talking to Lake Charles media guys that come in and cover LSU, and I know everybody in Lake Charles and Southwest Louisiana is fired up for McNeese basketball. And shoot, what's the number of tickets sold? And that's a cool little arena they've got there too.
And especially when they play the Raging Cajuns, that's going to be some fireworks.
Absolutely. Real Ed O, here he is. Nuss isn't playing unless Jaden is hurt or we are up by 50.
Yeah, and I think that probably is the mindset going into the season. But like we said, man, look, the last thing you want to do, and I'll tell this quick story, LSU is beating the snot out of Florida. These are the days when Florida was damn good, and when LSU beat them. And they were up 31-6 or something. And guess who calls a play? It's a run-pass option with the quarterback, Matt Mock. And you know who called that play? Because I asked him on the practice field next week, Jimbo Fisher. And you remember what happened to Matt Mock? He got hurt, out for the year, and they went from 6-1 to finishing 8-5. That's the thing you got to protect now. If you get up 35-7, you want to protect Jaden Daniels because, Mike, you agree, if there's one guy they cannot afford to lose to an injury this year, it's got to be first and foremost Jaden Daniels because you just don't have the depth. You've got Nussmeier, but if Daniels gets hurt, Nussmeier gets dinged in a game, You down to Ricky Collins, he's still wet behind the ears. No disrespect to
Man,
Ricky.
now you're scaring me. I'm starting to think about what wide receivers or what DBs played quarterback a little bit in high school.
You don't have many Jonathan Kirklands, but
Yeah.
my point is that they may consider putting us in to get his feet wet. But here's the problem. When you're up big, most coaches don't want to run it up on a guy. And what does Nuss do best? He throws the football down the field.
Hal Jubin, Mike, he has to miss the first 10 games. The 11th game is ULL Laugh Online. I can't wait for that press conference. Is that in Lake Charles or is that in the Cajun Dome? Let me know. I ought to know that, but I don't. I would please tell me that's in McNeese. That's going to be something. Him and Bob Marlin. All right, guys. Great show tonight. It's in Lake Charles, he says. Holy smokes. What's the individual game ticket? Can you imagine the demand for a McNeese ULL game ticket?
Well, and look, the press conference.
Hal says Lake Charles and Dwayne says the Cajun Dome. Which is it? Either way, that's going to be a fun ticket.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Enjoyed the show. Hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell. Go to TigerBait and subscribe. $1. Get you on the site to try out TigerBait Premium. You get our text alerts, our newsletters. We got a lot coming your way. If you obviously you notice our YouTube channel, we've been loading up all the coaches' press conferences from SEC Media Days. Another big day tomorrow, and football season here's guys. It's before you know it, we're going to be out there sweating. So bringing it all to you right here on TigerBait.com. All right, thanks, buddy. Thanks to all of you guys, and thanks for all the big time super chats. See you next week. Good night.